In one of the recent videos, we tested the strength of bulletproof glass from a strategic bomber with a 100-ton hydraulic press. Some viewers even identified where it was installed. This is the side glass from the tail turret of a bomber. In that video I promised that we would test the flight recorder, commonly known as the black box, with a hydraulic press. For those who are not aware, let me explain. A flight recorder is a device that records pilots' conversations, the aircraft's altitude, speed, and other parameters, so that in case of an accident, the cause of the crash can be determined. By the way, this type of recorders is installed not only on airplanes, but also on missiles and helicopters. Considering their flight speeds, especially the speed of a missile, the casing of this flight recorder must be very strong to preserve all the data inside. Specifically, this black box was installed on the military transport aircraft An-12. Let's take a closer look at what we are dealing with. Although it is called a black box, it looks like an orange. I used to think that you could only attach something to wear in a tractor, but it turns out that in the USSR this was normal even for the aerospace industry. Alright, let's try to take this thing apart and see what's inside. I don't understand, it doesn't seem to want to come apart. Probably this ring comes off together with the upper part. Inside this casing there should be a recording device, but unfortunately for some unclear reasons, the transport company that sent me this thing refused to accept this recording device. We don't really need it anyway. We need to determine how strong this casing is, and it is clearly strong. Inside this orange hemisphere is a titanium hemisphere with a wall thickness of almost 2 centimeters. Inside the second hemisphere there is some kind of connector. It was clearly connected to the recording device. Unfortunately, it does not fit here. Well, let's check what a load this flight recorder's casing can withstand. It began to deform under a load of 20 tons, and the average load at the moment of deformation was approximately 30 tons. You can notice that under this orange paint there is a layer of fiberglass. In my estimation, the fiberglass here is needed not so much for protection against mechanical damage as for thermal damage. At the moment of a crash, fuel usually ignites, and clearly this fiberglass is meant to protect against the increased temperature. Let's try to take it apart now and see what damage is inside. By the way, these locking rings are not made of titanium, they are made of stainless steel. And inside we do have some damage. Now an even clearer picture of the structure of this body emerges. On the outside there is fiberglass, then a layer of titanium, and inside there is something like foam insulation. Write in the comments what you think the purpose of this layer of foam is. Personally, I have two theories. Either this foam is intended for protection against high temperatures or against mechanical damage. Now, if you look at the inner part, you can clearly see a layer of titanium under the foam layer. The maximum load at the time of testing was over 30 tons. And that was not enough to penetrate the titanium. Now we will reassemble this casing and try to crush it with a press from a different angle. A load of 30 tons is enough to deform it in any way. The thing is, we can't press it further because structurally the press piston doesn't extend to a greater length. In this case, when we applied the load at such an angle with the press acting directly on the lock itself, we managed to open this casing. Unfortunately, the lock itself has already sustained such damage that disassembling this structure is practically impossible unless a cutting machine is used. Now we will change the attachment to a conical one and try to punch this thing, applying pressure where it is more or less still intact. During the contest, the maximum load was about 12 tons. The camera doesn't want to focus well, but you can see there's a hole, meaning the cone pierced it. Is the load that this recorder withstood a lot or a little? 30 tons? Tronci camera asta isi tresi in toiste. In principle, such a load is enough to destroy an average safe. Toiste restaris in Digging into the history of air crashes, one can notice that there are indeed cases where the black box sustained very serious damage. So sometimes in certain cases such strength is not enough. And by the way, the type of flight recorders we tested are no longer used.